It's recording.
I mean, if there's no big topics, we can just talk about what we've played. I have played actual games in this past week.
So have I. Let's just do that. I could stand to just have a show about that and not worry about trying to fill something. We don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. All right, my friends, welcome to episode 316 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. Over there is Anthony, the dev at Summer Speak. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Finishing out a week of vacation for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, me too. How was your week off?
It was great, and I don't want it to end.
I feel similarly.
I've lost track of time, though. I was yesterday completely. I'm like, I don't know what fucking day it is. It was like, is it Friday? Is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? I don't know. It's a day. It was fine.
I had that during the week as well because I was very excited about the final episode of the Great British Baking Show season on Netflix. And I was like, it's Friday. Nope, it's Tuesday. Wow. Why did I think it was Friday? The next day I did the same thing. Did the same thing on Thursday. 3 days in a row. I was like, it's Friday. No, it's not. Which is good because we have more vacation time. I desperately needed it. I was really at the end of my rope at the end of the last week. So it was
sounds like it.
Yeah, we talked a bit off air
I definitely wasn't at that point, but I definitely needed a vacation. Just I needed a big mental break.
Totally.
Been pushing really hard there for the last few months on many things. So it was nice to just be like, turn off Slack, not check an email, anything for a week, and just do things mostly around the house. Like I spent a good chunk of the vacation doing housework things that I've been putting off, which isn't the most relaxing thing, but it needed to be done, and it feels good to have it done. So
yeah, I did a couple of things like that. Actually, several things. Clean up the garage a lot. Little things around the house, like I had a pile of mail on the end of the kitchen table that's been there for about a month that I needed to tend to, and I just never did. So I finally did. Didn't find any checks in that pile. That'd been nice, but
that's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but this week was cool because I got some time to play some games. I played 2, and we're going to talk today about games we've been playing. Maybe we'll go back and forth. I'll talk about one, then you can talk about one, and I'll do one.
Yeah.
So Metroid Dread, dude. My wife and I went on a little vacation. Our daughter spent the night at the grandparents' house one night during this week, and we got an Airbnb and just hung out ourselves, which was awesome. And then my wife goes to bed about 9:30 or so, and I don't. I stay up till like 1 usually. So I decided, usually I'm playing music, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to bring a book. Got my Dave Grohl book, ready to bring it to the vacation house, and I forgot it at home. So I did bring my Switch, though. So I played Metroid Dread from about 9:45 until about 1 a.m. And maybe 12:30. And man, that game is so addictive. Like the dopamine rush of like uncovering a new part of the map, uncovering a new tool to go fuck around in an old part of the map, is just propulsive. I really didn't want to put it down. And I know last time we talked about like the first boss I played, like took me like 10 tries or whatever. Didn't have the grip and whatever shit. This time I did have the grip, and I fought Kraid, the second boss that I faced, and took him out in 2 turns. So it's useful to have the grip, but also to pay more attention to what the boss is doing. He has a very particular pattern. And last time when you were talking about the bosses, you're like, what weapons have they given me that I'm supposed to use here? And then I had gotten the Morph Ball right before Kraid. I believe that was the Morph Ball. Yeah. So I just like, he does his spear attack, and I just turned into a Morph Ball, and it went right over my head. I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, so it was cool. It was a cool fight. I'm sure canonically there's a reason why Kraid is back or something there again. I don't know what it is, but it was a very fun fight. And the way the game goes is kind of interesting because you had talked before about it kind of, I don't know, corrals you into a particular spot, and you kind of have to figure out how to get out. So when I got the bomb with the Morph Ball, I couldn't get back out of the room. I was like, okay, I'm stuck. I'm shooting everything. I'm like, nope. Oh, I just had the bomb. Okay, I'm just going to bomb everything. And then I found the way out. So that kind of design is pretty cool. But it does, one part of the design is kind of, it's not really bothering me too much, but I'm noticing it, is it's kind of purposefully pushing you into new sectors to get like the new weapon or whatever, right? Like the weapon you need to do stuff in the earlier sections is in the later section. So I went to I forgot what the new one is called, but it's like rainy. And I just got
I
a
know.
new
Yeah.
I just got a new ability. I can't remember the name of it. But it was basically that's all I could do there was get that ability, and then I had to go back. So it's very it seems a little leady, maybe not handholdy, but it is really pushing me. Whereas I feel like Super Metroid was a part of the joy of that game, and also the frustration was you just get lost. Like there's really not very much of that handholding. You could go to the new section and figure out that you need to be there, or you could not. But I think it's much more streamlined in Metroid Dread. It makes it more modern, where some of that the rough frustration is kind of sanded off. But I do miss that a little bit. Even in Hollow Knight, that existed, where it's just like, oh, fucking know where I am. I'm just gonna try something and get stuck for a while.
Yep.
You know. Not.
Yeah.
I do miss a little bit of that frustration. I don't think it's useful to have a lot of that. But I do notice that it's missing.
Yeah, they may have sanded a bit too much off, like, which is fine. I could go and I've played a bunch of Dread. I'm actually at the checkpoint to the last boss.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear
I
about
played
your
a bunch of it
experience.
yesterday and today. It's not long. Like I'm at like 8 hours and 45 minutes or something.
Oh, I thought it was like a 12-hour game. Oh, I guess not.
I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm underpowered. But I will agree with you that I think they sanded off a bit much on the pushing you forward, collapsing down explorable space, because they do that. Once you notice it, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, you're doing it again. Yep, there's a platform that I'll go on, and it's gonna flip up, and I can't go back, so I'm gonna have to explore this area. I remember there was one point we were talking about going through areas that I literally went through like one area for a few rooms and out to another new area.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, oh, I guess I'll be back at some point. I have nothing else I can do here, so and I've opened up every area on the map and like multiple connections back and forth to different areas. It does do some neat things later on of some form of backtracking. With like environments have changed a bit, so you have to backtrack through some environments where you're familiar with them, but things have changed.
Hollow Knight did that.
Yeah, which was nice.
Other games, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that was a nice thing to go into and get through. A nice little change there. I've gotten to some pretty heavy lore dumps. Not huge for Metroid, but they're like, I'm like, oh, here's lore. Here's actual story that connects all the base Metroid games and what they mean.
Is it from Adam, or is it some other lore?
Other lore.
Okay.
Other lore, other mechanism. And as I've approached the end of the game, there's been some very big reveals and recontextualization of parts of the series, of being like, oh, okay, this is kind of what's been going on. And I will do my prediction that I don't think this game ends well for Samus in the end.
No.
There's part of me, the way things are going, that I'm like, I think this is a true finale. I think this is it.
Oh, no.
I could be totally wrong, but I feel like I'm picking up hints of that.
Yeah.
Or they're at least going to bait and switch me on it. So, but I'm enjoying that part well enough. I did get to some pretty beefy frame rate issues on a couple fights, though. Like, I finally hit where it's like, oh, this is not smooth anymore. Not at all.
Oh, no. Were you playing handheld or on the TV?
TV.
Oh, fuck. I play handheld.
Yeah, there was just a fight, and you're like, well, enemy would do a certain type of attack, and boy, did it drop the frames. But overall, I'm having a good time with it. I think there's probably one too many Emmy overall.
Because there's a total of 7? Is that right?
Maybe. I can't keep track. I just know that the last big one that I did, just felt kind of like, this is kind of annoying at this point.
I've done this. I know what to do.
Yeah, and they make it's much more powerful. So it felt very much like do the exact thing or you die. Just that's it. So
Dang.
it probably I'm just like, this could have probably been changed around a little bit. But beyond that, I'm like you said, it's very, very addictive on that. Just like, oh, new thing, new places to explore, um, new item that I'll get very quickly after that one. Like that's the
Yep.
thing though. Like power ups come very quickly overall.
They do, and you don't
And
get
the
to fully
order,
explore with the
yeah,
earlier one.
yeah. Which is fine. Like I'm at the save point before the last boss, and I'm like, I could go back and go collect all the things that I'm missing. I'm missing a number of energy tanks,
Mm-hmm.
like 4. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of missiles. Um, I know plenty of places where I'm like, oh, I have abilities where I could actually go use these in different places. Now I remember areas like super bombs. I've found super bomb blocks, and I'm like, oh, I have that now. So, but I don't know. I kind of just want to beat. I've fought the last boss twice at this point. Um, it's rough. I will say it's going to be hard. I should say. Like
Okay.
this is not a pushover boss.
Yeah.
And it's making me use a lot of my abilities. So, uh, we'll see if I beat it. I don't know.
I'm sure you will. I believe in
I
you.
just have to hit my head against it over and over and over and over.
Yeah, unlike Hollow Knight, where I don't think you gave up because of difficulty, but you just petered off after a while, somewhere mid game maybe.
Yeah,
Like you're at
yeah,
the end here. I can see you finishing this.
yeah. The only thing is like multiple phases to the boss, of
Yeah.
course,
Right.
and you always have to start at the beginning again. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so long.
I really like that about fucking cartoon game Cuphead. Like it would checkpoint in the boss fight if you got to like a certain point, and it would show you how far you got after you died. So like if you got to that point of the third boss phase or second boss phase or whatever, you'd always restart there.
That would be great.
I like that mechanic. It's pretty cool. But
I would appreciate that.
respect my time. But I understand they're trying to make you get
Yeah,
good or some shit. Maybe you need more energy tanks. Go back and get them.
maybe. I will say it does feel like there are definitely times whenever you get hit with attacks and you're like, wow, that took like 3 energy tanks away. Like, guess I need to make sure I absolutely 100% dodge that
Holy
attack.
shit! Yeah.
Yeah, there's some attacks on some enemies that you're just like, whoa, and bosses. That probably be another critique. There is some, I don't know if they're mini bosses or what. They feel a bit bullet spongy.
Mm.
It just goes on like I'm like, yes, I get the pattern. I'm doing the pattern. Can I kill it faster now, please?
I've done it
Like,
25 times. Come on.
yeah.
I
How many hundreds of missiles have I dropped into this thing?
Right.
Can it just die, please?
I did feel that way with the first boss, where the third phase felt like it went on a really long time. I was like, this is just the first boss. Is this gonna
Yeah.
continue?
No, not consistently. There's been plenty of bosses that have felt fine,
Yeah.
timing wise, but just certain ones. So you're just like, no, this is too long. This could be cut down for pacing. Like, if a person has gotten this far in, they know the pattern and they're not going to die.
Right.
This fight should be done. And that's kind of actually the first phase of the end boss. Was kind of where I've now gone through that. It feels like it just goes on for a long time. Where I'm like, I get it. I know the attacks that are happening. I can avoid them most of the time. And yeah, so can we just get through this faster, please?
Right. I'm done.
But yeah. But overall, I mean, it looks great. It feels great. It's a great modern Metroid, but still feel like there's a little bit of flaws to it. Like you said, the exploration's a little bit too handholdy, and the other critiques I've said on it, but it still holds up as a Metroidvania very well. Has really cool environments to actually explore when you're there. It has neat mechanics for exploration overall. It plays very smoothly. Like the motion smoothness is so good.
It is really good, man.
Feels great. And that's the thing about it. Like the actual like just traversal and moving through the world just feels really good.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's something you do in a game the most is moving around.
Yeah.
Like I'm so glad it
Yep.
feels good. There was some area I was in that like the lights were off, and there was like some really cool detailed backgrounds. And then when I flipped the lights on, then it was like some grotesque fucking backgrounds. Like, oh, that's what that fucking twitchy monster thing was. It's just really cool how they've done that. Like you are going to be traversing areas, back and forth, back and forth. So as you mentioned, changing some of the what it looks like. There's one area that was like totally bone dry and then turned into like it flooded, so I can't go back now until I get the gravity suit, etc. But man, it's a beautiful game. There are a couple, I haven't played that many games this year, and all the ones that I have played to completion are outstanding. So it's going to be interesting for my thoughts on what I think will be the game of the year. But right now, just because of recency bias and how the dopamine loop on Metroid Dread, it's a front runner.
I would agree. We'll see.
We'll see how I feel when I get to the end of that boss. Although if I beat the fucking real Radiance and Hollow Knight, I can do anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. It just takes, again, I think it's mostly the time that it takes to get through the phases to learn the patterns. It's like, okay, I'm in the second phase now, so I'm likely going to die a couple times as I'm learning the phases of that fight. But to get to that phase, I have to go through the first phase. So it just becomes a little tedious more than anything.
Yep. Totally get it.
And I don't think Super Metroid was actually that difficult in the final boss overall.
I don't think of Super Metroid as a difficult game outside of the I'm lost, I don't know where to go. Other than that, none of the boss fights.
I'm trying to think of the fights. Maybe the final Ridley fight was probably the toughest one for me.
Yeah.
But like definitely the end Mother Brain stuff wasn't terribly difficult.
No.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting difference here is the fact that Dread's bosses I think are just straight up more difficult than Super Metroid's bosses.
Yes, absolutely. More intricate, more phases it feels like, and then as you say, longer.
Yep.
Like we get it. I don't know. I still think Mercury's team is doing a great job with this fucking series.
But yeah, so yeah, I played that. So what else have you played?
Other than Kina, which I'll not bore you with, but we've moved into the third phase. We're on the final spirit, basically, and my daughter is super excited. She's somehow like drawn to villains. Not sure why. Like Doc Ock and the Green Goblin, she's really into in Spider-Man, and the Toshi, which is the third spirit, kind of like the villain of the game. She's into an Astor from Age of Calamity, Legend of Zelda. Hyrule Warriors, not so much Ganon, but yeah, she's drawn to like the villains. I'm like, should I be worried?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But other than that, nothing to report on Kina that you haven't heard a million times by now. The other one I played was Halo Infinite multiplayer on Tuesday night with my normal Thursday night crew, because Thursday was Thanksgiving. Some of us played Halo Infinite, and it was a lot of fun. I play, just so you can visualize how I play, I'm in my booth in the garage. I've got my wireless keyboard and mouse. My wireless mouse is on top of a padded stool. That's what I use as my mouse pad. And my keyboard can't go anywhere but on my lap. So I got this $20 Logitech mouse. So I'm not the height of gaming setup out here yet, because this is my recording booth. But that's what I was playing with. And I suck at Halo, and that's fine. Two of us weren't doing that great, and two people on the team were doing fantastic. So it was a lot of fun, and we were there to have fun. No one cared if people were doing good or not. And when I'd get a kill or whatever, I'd just lose my mind. Like, oh my god, I did so amazing, I'm so great, and then I'd die like 10 times in a row. But the maps I think are really well laid out. I think they're really fun. I don't really understand enough of Halo multiplayer to know what the fuck is going on in terms of like what mode we're playing. It's kind of seems random. Like we were like collecting energy cells to power up our base one time, and another time we were just like first to 50 team kills or whatever wins. There was capture the flag at one point, but we weren't really like picking the modes. It was like a holiday event or whatever, and it just seemed like it was random. I didn't quite get that. But it's smooth. Like using the vehicles is smooth. The gunplay is smooth. Everything felt um, I don't know, like accurate. Everything felt accurate. Like
Yeah.
I missed because I missed. I made a shot. Like if I thought I made a shot, I did, and I killed the person. Like it felt very accurate. So that was cool. But it just it's Halo. It's well done Halo. I think the progression system is weird. The battle passes, you have to do these weird challenges. I think this is some criticism that's online as well. You have these weird challenges you have to do to get points to level up your battle pass. So sometimes those challenges are nothing to do with the actual task of the map. So you've got to basically not play the game to get these challenges. And before this last week, you didn't get any experience if you didn't complete a challenge. Now they've implemented you get 50 points every match you do, so you're leveling up a little bit. But it just feels it feels like they looked at other battle passes. Like I think of Rocket League, that's the only battle pass that I really do. The Rocket Pass, I guess is what it's called. And there are bizarre challenges, but you're leveling up that battle pass by doing other things as well, not just those challenges, but you get points for winning the match. You get points for how many points you did in the match and things like that. You get points for being in a group, for example. There's a lot of modifiers to the Battle Pass experience, but a key one is winning the fucking match. And so far, from what I've seen in Halo multiplayer, you don't get any points if you won the match. You get points for playing the match, and then you get points for doing fucking weird challenges. Like one was tagging somebody and shooting them, like right after and killing them, pinging them and then killing them immediately. But there was no points for winning or for what your score was, and that felt strange for a battle pass. Like this is still in beta, obviously, so their battle pass is going to get figured out, but the battle pass was unsatisfying to me. Like that was not the compelling thing, and
That's interesting. Yeah,
I think they're supposed to be like in Fortnite or in Rocket League. Like, I want to level up. I want to do the next thing. I want to do the challenge, of course, to get points. But I could just play and get points. I can win. I can do like whatever the normal loop is for that mode. Like I can score 4 goals or make 4 saves. Like that's normal shit that you do in the game, and you get rewarded that in some way because it helped you win. So I'm not quite sure who designed the battle pass. It sucks.
Yeah.
But the rest of the game is pretty good. So
they're probably trying to be different with it more than anything, which they probably shouldn't have been so different in some ways. Being like, that's cool to have extra challenges and different things to give you more rewards and the whole thing. But as you said, and from my experiences with battle passes, the one I'm intimately familiar with right now is Genshin Impacts. It works and there's basic things, daily stuff you can do, which is not hard. It's the same every day. Just log in. You get some points towards it. Spend a certain amount of their stamina in a day, which is the little bit less than max you have each day. Just so do a few things.
Right.
Finish your daily quest, your 4 dailies. There's your daily stuff. Then there's weekly stuff, which is all just like longer term things that if you play consistently through a week, you'll reach those. And then they have special stuff that's based around the current events that are going on and being like, do this during the event or that during the event and get more points. Makes sense. So I don't know why they would block some of those basic things of just being like, no, that's what brings people back day to day of just logging in, getting wins, maybe get some points, move on. Like,
yeah, it's like they saw those challenges and they're like, that's all we need to do. Like,
no, you should just have some basic stuff in there. That should feel good. Should feel good.
And to be clear, like, I could have missed it. I only played once for 3 hours, so I could not have seen it. But I was the one not getting points for wins. And we were winning. There were no points for wins. One game, I was leading my team, and there was nothing for that other than like completing the little weird challenges. So, I'm sure they'll fix that. Whatever. The gameplay loop is good. The game looks gorgeous. I have a 3060 something. 3060, I think.
Yeah.
Looks great. I have a 1080p monitor. It was holding 60 frames just fine. Yeah, as smooth as it can be for my janky setup in here. Which Winter Break will be me, making sure that this is kitted out for gaming as well as recording. So I'll get to that eventually. Get the old PS4 hooked up in here as well. I have plans for Winter Break. But that's what I've been playing. I had a lot of fun. It was really nice to just melt away this week and like focus on some work stuff, but a lot of music and a little bit of games. It was great. Anything else you played this week?
Yeah, I played Inscryption.
Oh yes, finally.
I bought and played, and this is the thing. I don't actually want to discuss much of it because I beat it. It took like 10 hours. The only other game I can compare it to from why I don't want to talk about it is Doki Doki Literature Club. In that this is a weird game that I'm happy that no one spoiled what the game was actually about. I can say that it is a card game. It is very much a game. Like Doki Doki Literature Club is a visual novel you go through. There's not really much like gameplay mechanics going on there.
Right.
No, this is a card game along the lines of like Magic. Simpler, but yeah, you're putting a deck together. It kind of has some Magic and some Slay the Spire mixed in there. But then it's also a adventure game in some ways, and like a puzzle room in some ways, like The Room, I think, are some of the games on Steam, like where you're in a room and it's like you're playing this card game, but it's connected to the things you're doing in this like room that you're in, and like you're solving puzzles in that room, which give you cards to play with, and then it just gets really weird, in kind of cool ways. So I don't want to spoil it, but I also don't want to make it seem like it's like, oh, if you don't like card games, you're probably not going to like this game, hands down, because it is a card game. You play a lot of card game while in playing the game. So you need to kind of enjoy like a deck building aspect to the game. But it is weird as fuck.
Oh man, that's cool.
I had my friend Carl messaged me, and he had been playing. I was like, "What games do you recommend?" And he's like, "Inscryption." Another person. So there's already plenty of people being like, it's just like, okay, I gotta play this thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you're playing it now? Just give me your hot takes and comments as you're playing through it." So I was messaging him like I got to this, and I sent him screenshots of like, what the fuck is this shit? And he's like, "Oh yeah, it gets weirder." And I'm like, how does this keep? I think my only like criticism of it is I think the third act loses a bit of steam. Just there's basically 3 acts to the game, and the third act, the pacing gets a little bit messed up there. Still had a great time. It's weird. It's a weird game. I see why people are talking about it, and I'm glad no one spoils it for me.
Awesome. That's it.
So
I think I sent you that link to the Reddit thread.
Yep.
Yeah, I did. And then just everywhere I look about the Steam sale, they're like, Inscryption's there. Inscryption. Check out Inscryption. Like, okay. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely consider it like, if you're cool with card games, it is a very unique experience. And it does a great job of blending all of its mechanics, all those genres mechanics together into like a whole that feed into one another.
Right.
And it kind of, and I guess it has a bit of like what I would consider like how Undertale subverted expectations of genre.
Right.
It has a little bit of that thrown in as well. Like there are definitely times when you're like, what game am I playing? Like what just happened? What genre am I in now?
Right.
In a good way. So, yeah, I do recommend it in that way. This will probably be on one of the best of the year list for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is very good. yeah, it's hard to talk about when you're not trying to spoil things. So
Right, it's like just play it.
yeah, I guess just play it. I should check how long I ended up playing. 11.4 hours for me to beat it.
Of Inscryption.
Yep. I guess I should see what happens when I try to start a new game. Because I finished it. Oh, and that's the thing. You finish it, it actually closes the app.
That makes sense.
It's just funny. It just closes completely, and you're like, huh. But I haven't tried launching it again. I'm very curious.
It'll just say, stop it. You can't do that.
I'd be very interested. I'm like, is there stuff that changes in the second playthrough?
Dang,
Yeah,
cool.
maybe I'll try that. We can talk about that later. But that was worth getting. Two things I bought but haven't played. I got Tokyo Mirage Session.
Oh, nice, for the Switch?
Yep. Because it was $40.
Right.
So I was like, sure. I haven't seen this thing on sale on the Switch ever.
Right.
So I'll pick that up. And then Amazon had Bravely Default 2 for $27 physical.
Oh shit, that is a good deal.
So I picked that up,
Yeah.
which will be here in middle of the week. And I probably will fire up Tokyo Mirage Sessions here soon, after I beat Metroid. Like, I bought it and I was like, okay, I have to beat Metroid before I play this next game. And then I have Endwalker on Friday, so
It's this
I
Friday.
won't play anything.
Oh yeah.
It is this Friday. I think it's Friday at 11 p.m.
Man, you gotta
is early start.
You gotta beat Metroid before Friday, clearly.
Yeah, I know. I need to beat Metroid like
Tonight.
within it. Yeah, tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other thing that it's not really playing game. I went back into Final Fantasy 14 and got myself roughly cool with where everything's at and everything, but I was like, oh yeah, I can watch through story stuff separately. Like, you can go to your apartment, which I own, like, and I can like play back story beats. So I was like, played back the end of Shadowbringers just to be like, okay, re-catch myself up. I'm like, okay, where are things at? You're talking about good villains. God damn, that game has good villains.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Like, in a way that you're just like, yeah, you're a villain, but you do a great job of actually getting the player and the characters in the game to sympathize with them in some ways, of being like, oh, like the best villains, of being like, okay, these aren't just like want to destroy everything. It's like, oh, you actually learn the motivations, and unlike Thanos' motivation, these are actually good motivations.
Right, doesn't want to snap half people out of existence.
Resistance, because that's the easiest way to solve this problem. You're like, no, the actual problems that the villain is dealing with are actual significant problems, and it's just like, oh, I see why you're trying to do what you're trying to do. You can't do it, and I'm sorry, but my God, it was so good, and I am so ready for that expansion on Friday.
I'm so happy for you that you're finally getting this thing.
I'm so excited. And it's gonna be like 60 to 90 hours of main story.
God, it's like fucking regular. That's a game.
It's a full RPG. It's a full.
It's like the Witcher
RPG.
expansions, you know? Those things are just huge, their own games. We got Witcher 3, and then Witcher 4, and then Witcher 5.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Endwalker is basically its own complete RPG.
Dang, that's
like,
cool.
Hands down. Hope they can pull it off. And I'm excited. And the thing is, and where previous expansions, they've like, you have your, so Endwalker, I'll just go this way. Endwalker is 6.0, patch 6.0, and that's content 6.0. Usually you'd get to the end of that and it would be like a nice conclusion point, but then there would be 6.1, 6.2, so on, that would really finish the story out. They're combining all that so that the story that you've been playing for 240 hours is actually done at the end of 6.0. All the patches after are setting up the next story and starting the next story.
Dang.
So that's why this is even longer than normal.
Oh, because basically adding in those things they would have put in later.
Yep. But that's what makes it like 60 to 90 hours.
That's cool.
It's so long. So maybe by end of Christmas, I might be through it. Maybe.
Got it. We'll be having Game of the Year discussions at the beginning, first week or so of January, so you'll have beaten it by then, and we can throw that into the mix.
I assume so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's what I've been playing. I've still been playing Genshin daily. It's a great filler on the day, but
Right.
they have new events going on because it's winter time now, so there's always new things to do and fun stuff to do, and it just scratches that itch for a progression MMO that has not MMO. It's kind of an MMO. I don't even know what it is in that regard. Just a progression itch on an RPG.
Right.
But while still having, sure, numbers get bigger, but there's still lots of exploration to be done. Like, I still have so many little world puzzles that I come across that I'm like, didn't see you when I came through here before. Let's solve this now. So if someone just wants tons of content, that's a game with tons of content. It will keep you busy for a very long time. And it's free. So go to town.
I know, that's so great. So much content there.
Yeah.
Good content. I keep telling myself I'm going to install just to dabble, but I just keep not doing it. But I'm hoping to.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You have other things to do.
I have way too many other things to do, but I would like to see what they're doing, but I'm not going to get hooked into the grind.
Yeah.
But then again, I said the same thing about Final Fantasy 14, and I just decided to watch the videos.
That's true.
So I'm roughly 10 minutes in.
Good job.
Yes, thank you.
Actually, you posted the video. I went and found that video on YouTube, and it made me sad because it doesn't actually have like the opening cutscenes.
Oh, well, I'm watching the wrong one. Then I should find a new one.
Which is just kind of sad. I'm just like, well, there's only like one per expansion, the base game and expansion, but they're really pretty, with really good music and just tell a great visual story, because there's not really dialogue during them.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to go find a different one then.
And they're all like between 6 to 8 minutes. Yeah. So just Square doing their amazing cinematics. They always like. I mean, it used to always be between them and Blizzard, really, were the ones doing the amazing cinematics. And at this point, I don't care about Blizzard anymore, so I'll take Square's. So
I'm not sure what that game company. Blizzard? I don't think I've ever heard of them.
I don't know.
What the fuck? I will end this podcast now because I want to start talking about them and I don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening to our podcast. This was 316 of Prof and Dev Play Games. Hopefully the population and the podcast thing will be fixed by Monday, so you should be seeing it in your podcast feeds again. And we will see you next week when we'll be talking about how Anthony felt beating Metroid Dread.
Yep, it's starting Endwalker.
Yes.
There we go.
Woohoo! All right, folks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Later, everyone.